I was just having tea with a friend of mine just before this call, and we talked about we talked about marriage proposals. So she asked me, Have I ever proposed to someone?" And I said, "Yes, actually, I have proposed to someone before in a very unconventional way." And she goes, "Tell me the story." I was like, "Oh, it's such a long, convoluted story," and it is. But I told her the story, and long story short, I was living in Harlem, New York, working in fashion as a model and dabbling in yoga and meditation, but really secretly wanting to move to Los Angeles. I've been thinking about moving to Los Angeles for maybe 2 years at that point, but just, I was so comfortable. I had a two-bedroom apartment that I didn't pay a lot of money for. And you guys in New York know how that is. You have an under market value apartment. It'd be crazy to let that go. And I was just in my routine. And look, my routine was actually quite nice. It was quite nice. You do a couple modeling jobs a month, you make your rent, you pay your bills, you have a little bit left over, you get to go out and explore. I would go to bookstores, I go to Barnes and Noble, spend hours in there, go to the park, I walk through Central Park almost every day. I was living the dream. But I had this inner calling to Los Angeles because I had friends out there. I had some business stuff happening out there. And I would go out there quite often, but I just didn't really want to pick up everything. And so I was seeing this girl for about 3 or 4 years off and on. And so the long story short version is we were in a period of our relationship when we were off, right? But we didn't talk about like, oh, I'm seeing someone else or interested in someone. We didn't talk about all of that. But we were off and come to find out she was seeing someone else. And it really got to me. And so I had this dark night of the soul moment emotionally around that, as young lovers do. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. And I went and created this whole scrapbook of all of our moments together because I kept everything. I kept all of our receipts. I had a lot of photos. This is well before social media. So I was doing Instagram via mail at that time. And in fact, for those of you who follow my socials today, you may have seen me post some of the spiritual minimalist content with writing on photos. That's all stuff I used to do back in those days. That's where I got that from. So this is nothing new for me. This is what I just used to do. And I haven't done it in a long time because I haven't really had the inspiration to, but I'm going back to the early days now with that, writing quotes and things on photos. I used to etch them in photos with these little knives, these little I forget what you call them, art knives. In any case, I created this whole massive photo album of all of our moments. We'd written each other hundreds of letters. And the last page was something like, I don't want to spend the rest of my life without you, or something like that. It was kind of like a half-hearted proposal. And she had rejected the proposal. And that was the thing that motivated me to finally get out of Harlem because we both lived in Harlem, blocks from one another. And I just couldn't, I was so traumatized by the whole thing. And I'm not blaming her. She was probably feeling the same way about me at certain points in our relationship as well. But I was just, I couldn't bear to be there. And I, um, I didn't know at the time, but that I was experiencing stress triggers. I had so many stress triggers associated with being in that area from that relationship. So I finally moved to Los Angeles and it started this whole new chapter of my life. Got out of the modeling, became a full-time yoga teacher. I started, and then she was also the one who introduced me to her yoga teacher in New York at that class that I didn't want to go to. she drugged me to after lots and lots of persuasion. And so when I moved to Los Angeles, the first yoga teacher whose class I went to ended up being that guy who she introduced me to in New York. And he's the person who introduced me to my meditation teacher, Vedic meditation teacher. So if it wasn't for her, if it wasn't for that situation, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. And it's beautiful because, the universe, that divine intelligence, it uses all of it, all the dramatic situations, all the people you may hate, right? All the people who you've been reluctant to be around, like all of that is going to come into play at some point in keeping you on your path and your purpose. And that's something that was affirmed and confirmed for me so many times throughout my trajectory. And it's probably one of the easiest things to forget as well when we're out there in the field doing our thing. And that's why this practice that we all share is so important to keep consistent, because that's really the one um, advantage that we have compared to the same version of ourselves that's not meditating, is we have the ability to expand our awareness enough to not only look back in the past and see, oh, okay, I could see now how this thing that I'm grateful for today happened as a result of these other 5 things that I hated going through. It's not that I didn't want to, I hated going through. I was depressed as a result of having to go through those things. But I cannot deny that those 5 things were stepping stones for me to become a better version of me, for me to grow into my potential in some respect. And if I hadn't gone through those 5 things, I would not have been the person that I was in order to see that other opportunity that led to the thing that I'm grateful for today. So a lot of times we have to reverse engineer the gratitude. You know, if there's anything you're grateful for today, any small thing, maybe you didn't win, $100,000, but maybe you can breathe, maybe you can walk, maybe you can see, maybe you have food in your refrigerator, maybe you're in a house or an apartment that is in a great area of town, whatever. Those things are not disconnected from all the bad things that have happened to you in your life, all the heavy, emotional, draining, traumatic events that you've navigated. Those have strengthened you, fortified you, so that you can become the person that you had to be in order to be in whatever situation you're in today. If you like that video, you're going to love the next one. Click this thumbnail right here, and I'll see you over there.